Hey guys, what's up? Fuller here. Thanks so much for checking out the channel. Thank you for all the likes and subscribes. I hope these videos have been helping you all as you go through the Unreal Engine, specifically in the audio side and working with Metasounds. Now, in today's video, I want to show you my top 15 power tips inside the Unreal Engine with Metasounds and blueprints and just Unreal in general that will help you speed up your workflow and hopefully eliminate some headaches. You know, sometimes we work on stuff and we're just like, man, I wish there was a faster way to do this. Well, I've got 15 ways I'm going to show you right now. Maybe you know some of them, maybe you don't, but I want to encourage you to leave some comments if these are something you've seen for the first time, or if you know some other ones that I can include in a second video. But here are some pro power tips that you need to know to make your life easier in Unreal Engine. So let's jump on in. All right, so number 15 power tip is show in browser. Let's say you're messing around, you're doing all this stuff. So let's say I'm looking for something over here and I've got my Metasound here and I'm like, okay, here I go. I've got this MS Western Score Metasound, but I want to do something to it. How do I find it? Well, if you just go over here into your details panel and you right click, browse to asset, check this out. Boom. It takes you to exactly where that asset is in your project, and it's a huge time saver. This works for pretty much anything. You can just boom, click on it, find where you want it, and hit show in browser. It'll take you right to it. Number 14 is something that has helped me tremendously as I'm working on big projects with tens of thousands of assets, and this is the reference viewer. Let's say I'm opening this project and I've got all this stuff and I'm like, oh, this is cool, this Metasound score tutorial, but where is it in the game? I don't know. If you right click on it and you can click reference viewer right here and check this out, your best friend just pops up in a window. It's gonna show you every single asset in this engine, every piece of code that is tied to this asset. Here's my Metasound here, and I can go boom. All of these wave files are attached to it, all of this, blah, 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 all this stuff. And this works for practically anything, and the more complex projects you have, the better it helps. Let's say, you know, this right here. Oh, am I even using this MSP banjo? Well, let's check it out. Let's go reference viewer, and boom, lo and behold, this banjo player is referenced in this map. So I know that this is being used there, and then it shows you all the assets too. So super, super helpful. Another cool feature, number 13, is show in folder view. Let's say I'm just going around here and I'm looking for something and I type banjo, and then I get everything that has the word banjo in it, and I'm like, oh, but this thing, let's see here, this thing right here, I want this thing. And right now I'm just searching it based on my type. If I right click and I go to show in folder view, it is going to show me where that asset is compared to all of the other assets in that same folder. And then I see here, oh, it's right here. It's in content, banjo, audio assets. There it is. Super helpful feature, especially if you're building samplers or you have tons of wave assets and you're trying to find where they're at, because trust me, the bigger your projects get, the harder things are to find. Now, I know those might seem a little boring, a little obvious, but trust me, they're extremely helpful. Let's dive on to something a little more interesting. Number 12 is commenting in your blueprint, or your Metasound graphs, either. So here we're looking at our blueprint for our level, and you can see I have commented out certain things, so I can go back and look and see what I'm doing. This one right here, this stuff, what does this stuff do? Well, it gets character height on tick, okay? Boom, great. Here, what does this stuff do? Oh, this controls the intensity levels based on the z-axis. I did this project months ago and I just now opened it for this video, but just because my comments, I can go back in and I can look and I can see how I did stuff. Because trust me, you're gonna do things, you're gonna problem solve, and then months later you're gonna come back and you're gonna open up a blueprint or a Metasound and you're gonna be like, why did I do that? Commenting is a huge help. And commenting is one of those things that the more complex you work on stuff, the more commenting you need to do, especially if you're working on a team with other people. They open up your stuff. It's helpful for them to kind of get an idea for what you were doing, because there's no one way to do stuff. There's tons of different ways to solve problems, but how you solve a problem is unique to you. So by commenting, it keeps things clean and it lets other people read your code better. Now, one cool thing about commenting I want to show you is you can see in my comments, I got a bunch of different colors here. Because when you click on a comment, and oh, how do you comment? Well, you just highlight what you want to comment and you hit C, and then it gives you a comment box and you just type stuff. Boom. and then there you go, you have a comment, and then you can resize this or whatever. Also over here, you can select the color and all that stuff, but I want to show you something really cool here. For a project that I'm working on right now, I have a color code system that I use. Anything that has to do with firing a Metasound is dark green, okay? So instead of going over here and getting dark green every time, what you can do is you can make swatches. And the way you do that is you just click on here, click on your color. Check this out. See up here? Whatever, here's your old color, here's your new color. If you just drag this over here, it's going to create a swatch. Now this color is going to be in your palette every time you open it. Let's say, for instance, anytime I do anything with the quartz clock, I like to make it purple. Okay, I use a lot of quartz clocks in my projects because it's awesome. Why not? So all you got to do, drag that new color there, boom, now you have purple. So anytime you want to create you color a comment box, you can just go and it's right here. What's cool is this is not just for blueprints, but it also works for Metasounds. Let's go over to one of my Metasounds, okay? Let's say I want to highlight all this stuff. Maybe I just want to highlight this and say, okay, this section right here, all this is doing, this is just a mixer. So we're going to go here, I'm going to type mixer, and then I'm going to come over here, I'm going to click on here, click on my color, and then boom, all my swatches globally stored, and makes it available for your entire project. Tip number 11, alignment, really important. As you can see, some of these things can get real sloppy, like right in here. What you can do is if you just select all of your things and on Windows computer hit Shift D and it will align all your boxes to the right. If you hit Shift A, it will align them all to the left. Same thing, if you hit Shift W, it aligns them all to the top. And if you hit Shift S, it aligns them all to the bottom, just like the play keys, A, W, S, D. So that's another quick way. If you're working on a ton of Metasounds, let's say all this stuff is like wonky like this, and you're going in and you're cleaning up your blueprints, you can just select all those things, Shift W, boom, now it's all nice and neat for you. Super cool trick, saved me a lot of time. Number 10, specifically for Metasounds, you've noticed probably when you create an input, and here it is, input 1, right? Okay, that's great. Let's say I want to name this, maybe I don't want a capital. Well, I go in here and I just type I, and then I hit return, and oh look, it wouldn't let me. It wouldn't let me correct it. Well, this is a little thing that Unreal does because it kind of thinks you're naming it the same thing. So if you want to change that, you have to actually just type a whole different name, like in, and then go back and then type the name that you want. And so what that does is it just kind of like tricks Unreal into letting you change the capitalization. So like if I want that all caps, if I do it like this, it's not going to let me do it. But if I just change this to imp and then do it, now my input is changed capitalization. Just kind of like more annoying than anything, but it's nice to know that you could do that. All right, another Metasound specific power tool, really cool thing here. When you have all your this is my little random banjo sampler I made, and you see all these things. Let's say you've got a bunch of spaghetti like this, okay? Let's say, and you've got, I've seen blueprints and Metasounds way worse than this. Let's say you've got all this stuff and you want to figure out, crap, where does this node go? If you just hover over your node, it will highlight the entire node and fade everything out, so you can see where that particular node goes. So I can look right here, out to, where does that go? It goes to trigger 2. And so this is a really powerful tip that has been very helpful, and you can just kind of hover over a node and it will bold that node and fade out all the other nodes so you can get a visual representation of where it's going. Tip number 8, Metasound nodes, specifically with Metasounds or Metasound patches. So when I open up this patch, and you see I have these here, and let me use my alignment node, boom, there it is. I've got input, probability 1, probability 2, probability 3. Now when I look back at my Metasound patch, I have them in this order, okay? Well, what if I want the triggers up here and probability down here? You can actually sort the order of your input nodes. So let's look here. I've got these trigger inputs, and I've got probability. Let's say I want trigger on top. So if we go down here, if we click on trigger and you go down here, you will actually see sort order. This is what allows you to organize how those nodes appear. Same with Metasounds. So if I want triggers on top, I'm gonna leave them at 0, but then probability, I'm gonna put that, let's just put these at 5. So what this is gonna do is this is gonna make the probability nodes underneath the trigger nodes. So when I go back and I look, now I've got my trigger nodes here and my probability. Let's say I wanted to do trigger probability, trigger probability, trigger probability. Well, then you could go 0, 1, could go 2, 3, 4, 5. You see what I'm doing here? And then 6, 7. And so I just ordered these nodes in the order that I want them. So now when I go back here, boom, there they are. Trigger probability, trigger probability. And so this is just a good way to organize your Metasound patches. It also works with Metasounds also. You can change the order here. When you're working in a blueprint and you have a bunch of variables, you can actually just, you can actually drag them where you want them. So let's say I want that there. You can drag this order up here, and you can just kind of reorder them by dragging them, but you can't do that with Metasounds. Power tip number 7, I've covered this a little bit in one of my other videos, but this is a really important tip, and that is using variables in your Metasound graphs. So let's just make a Metasound real quick. Let's call this test. I'm gonna open this up, and I've got, we're gonna put a wave player. Actually, let's go wave player. And what you can do is you can drag this straight out to your output, and then you've got an output, right? But as your Metasounds get more complicated, you can actually, because you're gonna have all sorts of spaghetti going everywhere. So what you can do is, instead of doing a direct connection here, you can drag off here, promote to graph variable, and then that's called out mono. Then you can drag this anywhere you want, and then you can connect it there. And so what this is doing, this is basically starting it here and it's ending it here. It's like a faucet. Turn the faucet on here and it comes out here. And so what this allows you to do is create all sorts of extremely complex graphs. Maybe you have another Metasound that's playing, and you have another output here. And then way over here you have a 2-channel mixer. And you want these going into there. And so you've got other stuff in the middle over here, and so you just grab this one, you grab this one, you bring it over, and you hook these up here, and then you can move this mixer anywhere you want, and it's going to be this audio signal flowing to there, and then you can just hook up this output to there. You can store practically anything as a variable. It's the basics of C++, and it's very helpful in Metasounds. Now, power tip number 6, getting into the good stuff here. This is one of my favorites. Oh my gosh, when I figured this out, I was just extremely happy and satisfied. And what I want to talk to you about is arrays, populating arrays. Now, if you've been working with arrays at all, basically an array is just a group of stuff, right? So here is, we're getting this wave asset. So inside this variable, it's an array, and it has all of these sounds in it, right? C, C sharp, D. Now, a lot of times we think, okay, let me just make a new array here. All right, so we're going to create a variable, and this is an array. We got all these elements, so we got to go make an element. Then we've got to find our sound. Then we add it. Then we got to make another one, and that is so time consuming. What if I told you all you had to do was drag off your Metasound into a smaller window, click on the array that you want, pretend it has nothing in it, and we want a ton of sounds in there. So we're going to go, let's say we want all of these sounds. You just select all these sounds, drag it over where it says array elements, and let go, and then bam, automatically populates all of your array. And this comes in handy. I was working on a project, and I had like 100 sounds that I needed in an array in multiple places. So I just selected all 100 sounds. They were all in a folder, dragged them to the array, bam, instantly done. It was incredible. So that's a super power tip. You may want to hold on to that one, may want to remember that one. All right, we're getting into our top 5. Now, this is a cool trick. I don't even know if you know you can do this, but you can. You can put a Metasound inside a Metasound. So let's look back at our Metasound test here. And let's say we've got this. All we got is the input and output. And let's say I want my banjo MS Metasound. All I gotta do is I just gotta go in here and right click MS, and then all my Metasounds come up. Boom, there they are. MS, these are the patches. MS, or these are my Metasounds here. Let's see here. We've got Metasound MS. Let's see, can't put something inside itself. This one right here. MS Western Score Tutorial. I want that one. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go MS Western Score Tutorial. Boom. It basically opens my Metasound, which would be kind of basically almost like, and if I double click on it, boom, here it is right here. This is my MS Metasound. And you can see it's got all of its members and all that stuff in there. So it's basically opening the Metasound similar to it would a patch. And then you can do stuff with it. So you could put 2 or 3 Metasounds inside a Metasound. And then there you go. So, and then you connect on play. And you're in business playing a Metasound. Now you can also use Metasound patches, but the problem with Metasound patches is you can't really test them, play them. So if you have a really complicated sound, it's better to build a Metasound and then put it inside a Metasound. Patches are better for, like, you know, duplicating things across the game, little simple things like effects and things like that. I actually have a video on the difference between Metasound patches and Metasounds. You can go check that out if you haven't seen it. Number 4, power Metasound tip. This is really important. And I had a lot of headaches before I discovered this node, and that is the on value change node. Let's say you have a wave player, okay? And you have it here. Let's enter this wave player, mono, okay? Let's say you have a wave player, and let's just go ambient drone, play. All right, let's play this. Okay, cool. All fine and dandy, right? And let's say instead of having that, you have an array. So let's create a variable here, and let's make this an array. We're gonna add 2 elements. We're gonna add the drone and whatever, horror drones. So now I want to get one of these. I want to get wave index, but I want to get it on play. Okay. Now, if I get it on play, right now I'm going to get 0, which is this one. Okay? But if I want to get index 1, I got to stop the Metasound. I got to start it over. And I got to hit play again. Now, if I pull this over and create an input, and that input gets fed from a blueprint, it's not going to do anything because you've already triggered the wave. So what you can do is you can actually use this node here, on value change, trigger on value change int. What this does is when that integer changes, it actually fires a trigger. And so what you could do now is you could actually come here and you could do trigger any2. Oops, sorry. Trigger any2, and you could come up here. So now play is actually, play is triggering this. Play is triggering this, okay? So boom. But then this is also triggering it when this changes. So now watch. I've got 0. That's the default. Now when I change this, you're going to hear the wave player change. But I also have to tell it what value to change to. Okay? So watch this. All right, so now we got 0. Oh, let me play it. Now, while it's playing, I'm going to change this to 1. And as soon as I hit enter, watch what happens. Now we have hijacked that information, and every time that information changes, we can fire a trigger. This is so important, so valuable, and you can do this on bools, on floats, or int. So if you have a true false, when that changes, you can trigger. So super powerful, gotta have that tip in your back pocket. You are gonna use that, trust me. All right, we're at our top 3 now. Number 3 is play from here. I never knew this until I started working at a gaming company. but I used to always just hit play, right? And then go where I needed to go. Check this out. In Unreal Engine, if you just right click and you hit play from here, it is gonna spawn your guy over there, which is really helpful and cool if you're working in a big open world kind of thing and you're tired of moving your player start. Maybe I want to spawn up here, so I'll just boom, play from here, and that's gonna put my guy somewhere close to there, which is super cool. Super cool tip, overlooked it. It's nice to know. Number 2 Metasound power tip is the stat audio. Stat audio is a command that you can type in your command line. When you're playing the game, you hit stat audio, and this will show you what's happening in your game with your audio streams and your buffers and memory counters and all that stuff. Really helpful, and as you're moving around, you can kind of see what you're using for the audio sources. Very helpful command. Okay, so here we are, the number 1 power tip for Metasounds. And hey, I just like to take this moment to again thank you for checking out my channel. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do that and like these videos, comment. It really helps the algorithm, helps me build my channel. So thank you so much for doing that. The number 1 Metasound tip. This is the true power tip. This is what the pros are using, and I use this feature every single day, and it is the audio debug tool. Now, there are a ton of commands that you can use with this tool, and you can find those on the Epic Games website. I'll put a link to it in the description of the video, but let me just show you a couple of them. While I'm running the game, the first one I like is if you just type au.debug.sounds1, and that will enable, and what that does is that will show you all of the sounds that are playing. And this is helpful, especially if you have a game with a ton of sounds in it. It will show you where your listener position is. It will show you the distance from your sound and all of that stuff too. Now my sound's not spatialized, but it is in the level, so it's showing me where I am from that sound. That is a really powerful, and if you just type au.debug, you'll see some other ones as well. You can start seeing, this one's cool. You can actually move down the letters if you want to. So let's go over here and type 400, and it will actually move that. It will move that text to a different part of the screen. If you have like a HUD or some UI that's taking up real estate, you can move that to a different spot. Another cool thing that I use a lot is the visualization, au.3D visualize active sounds and visualize enabled. So what this does is this basically enables you to see where all the 3D sounds are. Now I don't have a lot of 3D sound. I don't have any 3D sounds really in this particular level, but if I did, actually, you know what? Let's just drop one in. Let's okay, I want to show you with a different level. So here's a level I built. This is an old level I built. This is like one of the first videos I put on my channel. But when I play this, it's going to start this, and you'll see I've got this AU 3D visualizer enabled. Okay, so you type visualize enabled, au.3D visualize.enabled plus 1 turns it on and 0 turns it off. So now we see our 3D sounds, but check this out. Let me back up a little bit and then watch as I drop the balls. They also have explosion sounds on them just for this tutorial. Boom. So it's showing where the sound's coming from. So that sound is attenuated. See, it's coming from the right now. So it actually shows you in the game where the sounds are coming from, which is really, really powerful tool. And this is just a few of the audio debug commands that you can have. If you type AU debug, which is audio debug, you can just look and you can see all of these possibilities. If you go 3D, you can see all of you can visualize attenuation spheres and all the stuff. Again, there's a link to my website. There's a link to the Epic Games debug tool command that has like, I think there's like 50 or 75 commands. Just you can check your memory and your streaming and all that stuff. Anyways, you can see why that's a really powerful tip. A lot of people don't know about it, but it really comes in handy, especially when you're trying to figure out why things aren't working, why your attenuation attenuation can get complicated and weird, and if you're trying to figure out why it's not working, this is a surefire way to go, oh, well, at least the sound is playing, I just don't hear it, why can't I hear it? Then you can kind of troubleshoot backwards. But anyways, that was our top 15 power tips for the Unreal Engine audio. I hope this was helpful and insightful. We'll see you again in the next video. Peace.